Hello, everybody, and welcome to our next marketing masterclass. We are today going to be talking about using marketing to improve the world, and we are joined by Anna Mullenneaux, and she is going to be introducing herself shortly. So before we get to know Anna a bit more, for those of you who are joining us, who are regular listeners and watchers, thank you very much and welcome back. For those of you who might be new to us or joining us for the first time or watching on repeat, my name is Simon Batchelor and I'm a marketing mentor and a co-founder of Better, Bolder, Braver. And I'm joined here with the other co-founder, Frances.
Thank you, Simon. Hi, everyone. My name is Frances Khalashji. I'm also a marketing mentor and co-founder of Better, Bolder, Braver, a marketing community for coaches. We support coaches in getting better, bolder and braver at doing marketing. And we also invite them to consider how marketing is another self-growth tool to help them build a sustainable coaching business. Lovely to have you all here, and also an absolute treat to have Anna here as well, who is in our what we like to call marketing family, of our band of wonderful, good, ethical marketing friends doing amazing work around the world. Anna and I were introduced by Carlos, who's here today, who is the co-founder of the Happy Startup School. And Anna and I hit it off because we both feel very strongly about lots of the same things. Anna's got the most amazing background, and we're going to get into that shortly. But we would also like first to invite people who are listening live to let us know in the chat how they are, who they are in terms of, are you a coach, are you a marketeer, are you something else, and also to kindly share if you have a cause, a charitable cause or a social enterprise that's particularly close to your heart. We'd love to know what that is. So without any further ado, as I say, Anna, would you kindly introduce yourself, and then we can maybe invite you to tell us what you're doing now and how you got to be here.
Yes, of course. It's great to be here. Thank you both. So I am the co-founder of MarketingKind, which is a community of marketers, business leaders, and change makers that are coming together to make marketing mean more. And I'm also the chief matchmaker of Pimp My Cause, which is a pro bono marketing matching platform that we've run for about 10 years.
Amazing. Thank you. And thanks, Carlos, for your comment about the slick pitches. There's no pressure at all when you're in the business of marketing to be able to pitch well what it is that you do. Let's hear a little bit more, Anna, about how Pimp My Cause came about in the first instance.
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's been around a while now, but in the beginning, my partner Paul Skinner and I created it. We came at it from the marketing perspective rather than a charity background, and we thought that marketers and causes both got a lot out of volunteering together. So the marketers that we knew were really needing to understand social and environmental causes more for their day job, and they also weren't always satisfied just selling detergent all day or whatever it was. So having an opportunity to use their skills to support a small charity or social enterprise that was meaningful to them, where they could challenge themselves in a new way, they could see that their skills were creating impacts very quickly often, and it's just so satisfying. And then for causes, many of the small charities and social enterprises that we work with have no internal marketing expertise. So people are often working directly with the founder or director, and a little bit of design help or strategic marketing advice goes a long way in that situation. So we just created a simple online platform that made it easier for any marketer, any good cause, anywhere in the world to sign up, message each other. The causes create help wanted ads as well, and they can get on with pro bono projects. I also help people connect and match up and find the right people to work with. And then we try and share the stories of the work that gets done and encourage more people to get involved. And it's been an incredible journey. But as I was telling you before we went on air, it's also been a challenge. We never had any funding for this. We just had the idea and wanted to see if it worked. And in the first couple of weeks of going live, we had articles in The Guardian about us. We messaged, I think, a couple hundred marketers through LinkedIn and just said, will you help us beta test this? And we got an incredible response. I went around to the Responsible Business Convention, I think, in London, and went stall to stall and talked to charity leaders and manually signed them up to get people using the platform at first. And the response just made us feel we really needed to keep doing it, to keep promoting it, and to make sure that we pulled in the partnerships we needed to get more marketers involved and make sure that we continue to grow so that the impacts could also grow.
I'm tempted, having spent time working in the world of fundraising and the charity sector, third sector, to ask you kind of if you ended up getting into a position of assessment of quality control in terms of, did you feel answerable in terms of what was going on in terms of those relationships?
Yeah, it's not easy. And because we were just doing this as a volunteering platform and we were volunteering to run it, we could not guarantee the quality of work. We tried to make it really open and transparent, and we always encouraged the marketers and causes to vet each other. So our role is still just as matchmaker, as connecting people.
Mm-hmm. And if you could share with us a couple of success stories, perhaps, like specific success stories.
So many. Trying to think of the right ones. But there, in the early days, there were some incredible projects. Food Cycle is a great charity. They're now nationwide, but when we met them, they were just based in London. And they have has a model where they get donations of food that would otherwise go to waste from grocery stores and restaurants. And then they used community kitchen space, like in churches and things like that, where they had commercial kitchens that weren't used all the time. And then volunteers would come, make the food, and put on regular meals for the community, particularly for people who were in food poverty or in loneliness, or both. So it would be a regular community meal for people where they knew they could come and meet other people and have a nutritious meal. And it's just they've had a great success over the years. We've known them for many years now, and they're now nationwide, as I said. And they also really help people, like particularly older people who may have forgotten how it feels to eat nutritious food and get out and meet new people. It's just a great reminder, and then it allows them to make sure that they're socializing more regularly in the rest of their week, and they can meet up with the friends they've met through Food Cycle. And we connected them with a digital agency named Maverick Digital, I think, and they created an explainer video for them, which they used to get £150,000 of funding, and that was at a really crucial early moment. So we've enjoyed having a long relationship with them since.
So nice. And this is reminding me of an amazing interview which you incredibly managed to have with Seth Godin, and we want to hear all about that, one of our marketing heroes, because I think that Paul mentions on that, in connection to this project perhaps, or maybe it was another one, that one of the ladies that benefited from a meal also very much benefited from a kind of mental health point of view in terms of the contact she was then getting. And it reminds me of something that Simon and I talk about, which is how you need to sometimes market to what people think they want, but actually, what people might be getting is something they really need, and sort of navigating the sensitivities around those messages, I'm sure, is something that's quite big for your charity partners, and must be a bit of a minefield in terms of them knowing what it is that they're supposed to be talking to their ideal clients, if you like. So must be amazing to get the marketing support, I'm sure.
Yeah. So this conversation with Seth was incredible. And it was, I think, about a year ago, and it gave us so much confidence as a community. I think you'll recognize this. Having someone like that say, yes, I understand, your mission, it is really aligned with what I want to do. I will come on and support you. And who's just so generous with his time. I totally recommend anyone that's interested, watch the replay of that. It's on our YouTube channel at MarketingKind. And I can send everyone the link later, but he's just hero.
For sure. And he identified your passion, and you've spoken to us about how, it wasn't easy when you started. That it wasn't like you were swimming in cash. You hadn't just won the lottery and this was a nice side hustle. This was something you cared deeply about. Can you just talk a little bit more about why it was so important to you both to be doing this work?
Yeah, well, we've also talked about juggling different hats, and one of the things we've had to contend with is Paul has consulting work and I help him with that, and then we've run Pimp My Cause and now MarketingKind and Pimp My Cause, and then Paul also writes books, and so juggling all three of those is really tricky. And Pimp My Cause, the idea for it came out of Paul's consulting work, in that he was often giving advice to clients around solutions to their business models that revolved around a platform approach to problem solving. And they would say, this sounds great, but it sounds too expensive and difficult. And we came up with the idea for Pimp My Cause, and we were like, we can just do this. We can make it happen. And it was also a way of showing clients that it doesn't have to be expensive. It has been a commitment, I'll give you that. But we created it with no budget. We just had the idea. We found a developer who was willing to create the first website very cheaply, and then we just got people using it. And we were able to develop it further over time with some great pro bono support, but it's been an incredible collective effort. And for us, it's taken commitment first and foremost, and a lot of our time. But we've built some incredible partnerships with the Chartered Institute of Marketing, the IPA, the Marketing Society, the IAB, and they've all, wanted to get their members involved in what we're doing, because they can see the value for marketers as well as the causes involved. And then with the transition to MarketingKind, we have wanted to make it a little bit more sustainable. We're not planning to go anywhere, but we would like it to ultimately be a community that somebody else could come in and run instead of us, and that it would be financially sustainable enough that they'd be willing to do that. We don't want it to be dependent on us. And I think you can recognize that, it's a challenge when you're just creating something like that. And you do, of course, we want to keep running it, and we are at the heart of it, but we also want it to have a life beyond us. We don't want it to just be about what we're doing. And I think that we are making that transition well. The MarketingKind members are incredible. They take on so many of the responsibilities. A lot of our activities are run with and through them and come about because of their interests and goals. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating because, funnily enough, Simon and I were running a session this morning, which Mark Stedman, who's here, was part of. For a bit of, and we have a 6-chapter coach's marketing journey, we call it, and the last chapter of it is journey, and it's a little cryptic because it's both a coach's journey that they're going on, in going from feeling quite uncomfortable about putting themselves out there and what it is that they're actually selling and to who, to being able to do it with a lot more confidence and pride, and it's also their client's journey. And what you're talking about makes me think that there's this amazing parallel between between what the causes are going on in terms of a journey and the marketeers are going on, and being able to see how the way in which we're helping others is helping you to grow is a very wonderful benefit that we now all understand is part of supporting charities. And I'm interested to know a bit more about how you're seeing your community members grow as marketeers in terms of the strengths of their skills, but also their own sense of worth. In the bigger picture of let's call it ethical marketing, this kind of conversation that we know that us three and many other marketers are part of, and Seth, which is first name basis, just in case you ever listen to this. Never met him before. He doesn't know who I am. It's like we're trying to be good. We're marketers, and we're not hiding anymore behind this horrible sort of picture that's been painted of what it is to be a marketeer, because there's many of us who are trying to do good and support and enable the change makers. I just want to nod to Mark, who's just launched his amazing podcast production program called Unmute, which is designed to help change makers in a really cost-effective way be able to produce a podcast, which is obviously a really wonderful and sustainable, cost-effective way of sharing your good word. So there's lots of us here in this marketing family trying to do good, and we're also battling with this narrative which is marketing is bad. So just back to my question, can you talk about how empowering it is for your community members to have this platform that you've designed in terms of their own journey?
Yeah, definitely. So many thoughts coming. But I think one of the things behind kind of philosophy behind everything we do is that we believe that the world's most pressing problems are at the heart dependent on human cooperation for their solutions. And they can therefore be seen as marketing briefs in disguise. So we think there is a great responsibility on marketing to step up and to do more. Marketers should be able to better understand human need, be able to form solutions to those needs, and better engage people in those solutions. So there is a responsibility there. It's an important time for marketing, I think, to be more ambitious and to root what we're doing in the long-term needs of the people that we want to serve. I think marketing has gotten a little bit too good, and advertising at being in that space of facile consumerism. And if we can go back to ultimately what marketing should be, then I think will be a really, really important part of the business solutions, the direction that business is going in, which is, as you say, to be more responsible, to be ethical, to try and be part of the solution when there's so many problems. So it's an interesting time to be in this space. And we're seeing a lot of our members are coming to us at points of transition where they have a desire to do something more meaningful with their own careers, or they're running a business and they are on a journey with that to take it to a more meaningful place. And it's an exciting, time to meet people and to be connecting them with others. And we see that it's really important for them to be surrounded by like-minded people who are also on a similar journey. Maybe they're a little bit ahead in some ways and can help people to have ideas and inspiration on where to go next. And, we've had sessions around the transition to B Corp, because a lot of the businesses we're working with are in that process. Either they've applied or they're thinking of applying, or they're already successfully transitioned to that. So, and I think that when people have even that first desire to do something more meaningful with their career, it's great if they just have new influences around them that can give them a confidence they need. That you don't have to just stay stuck, even if you're, you can't leave the job you're in now because of the paycheck. We completely understand. But just take some steps to surround yourself with people and start exploring what you might want to do, what might bring you greater fulfillment, make you feel more purposeful. And that's part of how we've designed our gatherings at MarketingKind. When we were running Pimp My Cause alone, we had brand charity challenges that we ran. It was the only thing we ever charged for. They were incredibly impactful, but really hard to schedule because we would have to get a whole team of marketers to take a day or two off and work with charities in a competition format. It was really fun, but they were a nightmare to run. But so we learned a lot from them. And so now through MarketingKind, our monthly coffee with a cause is only an hour and a half. So any marketer can if they're, if it's a cause that month that they're really passionate about, they can make sure they can get there for an hour and a half. And then, of course, if they want to continue to work with that cause, we have a working group that then follows on from that, but it's a little bit more scheduled around people's diaries. So we've tried to take what we've learned and make it bite-sized and easy for people, even if they're in that busy job, even if they are running their own business and have so many responsibilities. They can still drop in and you get a lot of the benefit that we were creating for many years, but we're trying to make it more accessible now.
So yeah, I mean, there's lots coming up for me in what you're saying, and we talked about this before, having been on a charity board for 6 years and seeing how sometimes ineffective boards can be, and that it's often just a group of people sitting around talking at people in charities, paid positions within the charity, about what they should be doing, and then buggering off at the end of the board meeting and not adding any capacity at all, and not actually delivering any value whatsoever, because the poor chief exec of the charity has had to sit there smiling graciously and actually knew all of the things before, and then is going to be scrutinised in the next quarterly board meeting for not delivering any of the things, but no one added any capacity. So there's all these big ethical conundrums around sort of pro bono support. And what I love about your model is that firstly that there is not a hugely onerous task for any marketeer wanting to kind of add value, because as you say, they can come to these sessions and then that's greatly valuable, and then if they have any additional capacity they can work moving forward to actually support charities in delivering, which I think is great. But then also for the charities, what I love about what you're doing is that they are getting that support, but it feels like they're also getting in a window into a kind of more commercially motivated state of mind, if it means that they're switching to B Corp and just becoming a bit more commercially savvy. That's also another benefit to the happy marriage that they're having with the marketeers.
Yeah, the businesses that were transitioning to B Corp were agencies actually that we're working with, and we're finding that it feels like there's less distinction between the businesses we work with and the charities, because a lot of the charities have had to create social enterprise business models to fund, as government funds have been cut for many, many years. And then, many of the businesses are trying to find more ethical ways of working. And so there's I wouldn't say the charity space has the monopoly on meaning and purpose. Many of the businesses that we work with, that our members are from, are incredibly impactful and doing so much good in society. But I think that one thing you mentioned is we always try and have the flexibility. So some causes that we work with in our Coffee with a Cause sessions just require that concentrated support and a little bit of follow-up. Others, in that way, we worked with Scott Britton, the founder of Battle Cancer, last May. And it was, as you say, giving him a little bit more of a window into how he could better engage corporate teams in what he's offering. They fundraise. They have an incredible model of instead of fun runs, they do CrossFit type day fundraising events for teams to come and do a physical activity and fundraise for cancer charities. And then he's also created a charity that provides free exercise support for people who are recovering from cancer. And they're doing incredibly well. And when we were working with him, we were helping him to better understand how he could involve corporate teams in his fundraising, how he could make it a longer program so that it felt like it was not just a one-off day thing, that it was actually a well-being program that employees could get involved with and create something more meaningful. And he's now got a partnership with Nike, and he's on the cover of Men's Health for April. So, that was we helped in a tiny way at hopefully the right moment. And then other causes like Stop the Traffic, we worked with last May, and a couple of our members are still working with them and have engaged agency support through their own networks to come in and help with those projects. So it really just depends on what the cause needs and where the chemistry happens as well. Not every cause project will take off, but if there's the real need and the right fit with members' interests, then some really, really magical things can happen.
Sounds incredibly rewarding to be overseeing. Mark's mentioned in the chat, marketing is a responsibility to act rather than a sell or a pitch. I've probably got myself as much experience marketing good causes as I have marketing from being in the city, and it wasn't as if I was marketing bad causes, but they weren't as obviously good causes. And so I've got a lot of experience of being able to market something with pride and to be able to stand up on a stage and talk with real energy and enthusiasm about something I care strongly about, and to foster that sort of energy within a marketeer is very useful all round, really. Sometimes we end up as we say, Simon and I, people often, rarely sort of choose marketing as a path. You sort of find yourself in marketing and communications. Many people do choose it, but I fell into it, I would say. And I think sometimes it's kind of hard to every day show up with great passion and enthusiasm sometimes in a number of roles. But certainly in our community, we're working with people who do have a great service to offer people as coaches, but are lacking that sense of pride and that they have a gift to give. And so a lot of the work we're doing is getting them to a place of real self-awareness and confidence, and that they can stand up and talk with confidence about what they do. And are you finding, I don't know, Simon, actually, do you want to add anything at all at this juncture to anything that we've been talking about?
I was just going to say we've had a couple of questions, so we could maybe touch on a couple of those. So I think one sort of feels like a natural one to jump onto. We will come back to the other two, but this one feels interesting in the sense of, so Carlos asks, how does the matchmaking work on Pimp My Cause? And then he clarifies with, how do you define a match?
Just a marketer and cause that have some alignment in terms of the marketer has the right skills and time and interest in helping, and the cause has a distinct need, a project that they are asking for help with. So yeah, it's often just sending a cause, a few links of people that they should probably write to on the platform that are, I think, a good fit and might be have the time to take on a project like that. I find that marketers are often, if their skills are needed, then they are more open to what the cause is actually, the cause mission is. They don't seem to mind. I mean, some people come in and I have to work for the dog charity. That's a little bit trickier. But many of them just say, this is what I think I can bring to the table, or I really want to get better at digital marketing. I'd like to challenge myself in that area. And then, finding a cause that needs that is pretty easy. So it often works in that way.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well, yeah, it sounds like a good way of matching, because it's not necessarily that you're prescribing or defining exactly what's necessary. You're sort of letting them find each other and see whether they're the right fit.
And I often have conversations with the cause, and as you'll imagine, quickly I understand that what they're asking for may not actually be what they need. So there is a little bit of coaching in that in that early stage of the relationship to help them better understand all the specializations within marketing and what steps they may need to take before they're ready to create their website. And so ends up being a little bit of advice giving and support there.
So are there lots of rabbit holes that you find yourself going down with people when it is that they come to you and what they think they need is some PR support, and it turns out that actually the back end of their entire operation doesn't make any sense at all? Quite extreme.
Definitely. And I'm always impressed and surprised by the range of causes that are out there and the ones that get support and have, fans. Morris Dancing Charity. I thought that one was going to be tricky, but no, they got support immediately.
Yeah, Carlos has asked, did you have many people stay with the cause for the longer term? Which is a brilliant question. Are people finding themselves on boards of charities that they'd never even heard of?
Yeah, definitely. And I've actually done a lot of trustee matchmaking support over the years as well. We ran a series of in-person events with the marketing recruitment firm EMR in London, and it was all around becoming a trustee. It was around more senior marketers who were interested in at some point becoming a non-executive director. And as part of that, understanding what was required and the steps they might need to take in their career to be in a good place to get one of those roles. And so one step can be getting more board experience, and that can be charity board experience. And so we've done a lot of matchmaking support after those events to connect senior marketers with charities that need them as a board. And sometimes they ended up taking on, informal advisory roles. Sometimes it was a formal trustee role. But that was really, really interesting. And we're actually, through MarketingKind, going to have a digital fireside session with Celia Pronto in April, I think on the 13th, around becoming a non-executive director, and we're going to come back to a lot that we learned in those events.
It's fascinating because I feel like often the demystifying job to be done for charities, the thing I've found most often is that charities just don't quite understand the whole corporate sponsorship, corporate responsibility world. So they may be kind of okay at the individual giving chat, comfortable with major donor chat, trust and foundation chat. I think the point is there's very different voices to all of those different narratives, and the one that's the most complex and intimidating, I think, unless you would correct me, is around corporate social responsibility, because to understand what it is that an organisation would actually like out of a partnership, or how can a sustainable partnership work between a company and a charity, and what boxes need to be ticked, and how can you find out the answers to what it is you're supposed to be speaking to? That's a whole minefield that a lot of people working in charities just don't know how to start understanding. But if you have people in marketing and therefore who are in the same family as CSR, at a level in a charity where they can actually help educate, that's can absolutely be game changing, can't it, in terms of fundraising?
Definitely. We had one of our exchange conversations early on at MarketingKind on that. I think the headline question was, how can charity partnerships work for both sides? Because I think that some charities forget they need to show what they're giving to their partner. Why are you an attractive partner? What is this business uniquely going to get from this relationship? And it was a great conversation. We had one of the panelists was from a CSR background. One was Emma Ishan, who's until recently was joint head of corporate partnerships for Mind. She's done some incredible things with their partnerships over the last few years. So yeah, it was really, really insightful. And we had causes come on and talk about what they were looking for in charity partnerships from corporates. So yeah, it was a really, really important discussion.
Especially in the absence of public funding, where so much more creativity needs to be employed with funds being allocated elsewhere. Charities and corporates now having to show up much more responsibly, are having to be so much more creative and able to work collaboratively together in a bigger community. It's so important. Carlos also asked, was wondering if there was also much coaching for the marketeers and the kinds of things they would be best placed to work on. So are you also doing that work in helping those folk understand how and what they can do to help, basically?
Through MarketingKind, yes. Not through Pimp My Cause. Pimp My Cause is as much as possible self-matching, because it's all volunteer and it's very time consuming. But through MarketingKind, we have kind of three distinct areas. The first is our members work with their heroes through our exchanges, which are discussions around changing some of the bigger stories that we live and work by and how we can improve those. And then the second area is members coach and support each other in becoming more impactful and conscious leaders. And we do that through our digital fireside and your MarketingKind gatherings. And then the third is the Coffee with the Causes, which is volunteering essentially for group volunteering for causes and the follow-up work that happens from that. So in the digital firesides and your MarketingKind, there's always a theme, but there is an element of, it's not formal, but it's members do try and help each other to grow in whatever area we're looking at. And we do have some kind of specific sort of coaching sections to some of those gatherings. And then, of course, there are members that are formal coaches, and I have matched them up with people if they're in their training program and need some people to be working with, or sometimes members have come to me and said, I need a mentor, and I try and find people who are a good fit for their needs. But that's all just, the side benefits of being part of a community.
Yeah, I can hear a lot of value in what you're saying, and sounds like so can Carlos, and asked if you know the book Second Mountain in regards to people finding more meaningful work through MarketingKind. And obviously what you're talking to is the continued professional development that means, if pitched well, the work that they're doing through you should in theory allow for them to move up through the ranks, let's say, where they are. And become more qualified and a lot more worldly as marketeers. So, are you helping them market themselves internally to their leaders about the work that they're doing? And you mentioned, I think, a relationship with the CIM. Are there qualifications almost or opportunities to be certified as having offered external support that is of great value to your own career development, or, as Carlos is saying, might help inform massive change for you in your life?
We don't have a formal training program. The CIM does give CPD credits for volunteering through us, and I think we do help each other to build internal cases for marketing and ethical marketing in particular. Mark Evans is one of our founding members. He's the managing director of marketing and digital at Direct Line Group. And he's talked about how CMOs are now expected to understand climate change. They're now meant to be the expert in all of these areas, diversity and inclusion, all these areas that they don't have training in. And so they're having to educate themselves and then support their teams in learning and being able to use what they learn. So the conversations that we have are not a training program, but I think they do very much help to build that case for why this is important, why your business needs to be taking it seriously, and some steps for how you can share that internally. One of the recent Your MarketingKinds that we had was on sustainable consumption. And we asked Helen Brain, head of strategy for MediaCom, to share a framework that she's been working on, and she's had some great collaborations on that already. It's something she's been thinking about for a while, and she shared where she was up to, and we all gave feedback and talked about how we thought it could be used in different businesses and where it could be distributed. And Gemma Butler is a member. She's head of marketing for the CIM, and she talked about how she would love for them to be using it in their training programs for marketers. So we're going to have Helen come back when she's developed the next iteration, and we're going to talk about how we can get more agencies and brands using this model that will help them to think about in a new way their own consumption models and the consumption models that they're promoting to their customers and other stakeholders. So
it's super fascinating.
It's kind of a collective learning,
Yeah, it's amazing. And also it's much bigger systemic change stuff, because something else we see in our community is a lot of people leaving jobs, having become disillusioned, wanting to become coaches, then having to navigate the not only work-life balance, but the work-work balance that we refer to in relation to paying bills and having to take on other work, when you realise when you become a coach that actually you're not going to make millions in the first couple of months. And then there's others who don't want to leave the workplace. They want to do coaching from within because they see the change that they can make. We've got one community member in particular that I'm thinking of who works in the petrochemical industry and has actively chosen, being somebody that cares deeply about the environment and also the theme of vulnerability, not to leave but to make change happen from within. And you know, I was personally torn for years studying the relationship between public and private funding as to what is the most effective way of making change. Is it to be renegade, step outside the system, you know, attend all the rallies, and like just be a general cat amongst the pigeons wherever possible? Or is it to be able to navigate the system and to really intelligently and empathetically or compassionately make change happen from a position of greater influence? And I think what you're talking about, you know, I get really excited about, because I feel like it also, yes, it's about personal journey. Yes, it's about, you know, your own meaning in your life and how the work you're doing is really helping people on both sides get more sense of meaning and sense of purpose and sense of the value that they bring. But also you are potentially, well, you are massively already informing big systemic change in terms of people going up through the ranks, as we say, and then actually doing amazing stuff from a position of real influence.
Yeah, I think you're right. It takes both types of people. Rebecca Henderson, the Harvard economist, was one of the panelists in our Resilience Exchange last June, and she has, I think her book is called Reimagining Capitalism, and she wanted to quit her job and become an activist. And people convinced her that no, she needed to stay and have greater influence where she already was. And she has a really optimistic take on how businesses can play a leading role in tackling climate change and all of the needed changes, and how they can be putting pressure on government if they can work together to change regulations and make a level playing field so that they're all doing the right thing, but not being penalized for it. So I think, yeah, definitely both are needed. And I think that it can be more difficult in many ways to be that really passionate person working for a petrochemical company. But I think that there are great examples as well of businesses that are changing. DSM is an interesting one. They're a Dutch company. It's Dutch State Mines is their original name, but they no longer use that. They now, they've, I think for many years, kind of loosely thought that it means DSM stands for Do Something Meaningful. And they have changed from being a coal mining business over many, many years to they're now in the sustainable food industry. And it's an incredibly large company, I think 20,000 employees worldwide. And they, it's been quite a transition, you know, from coal mining, but they went to a sustainable living and have rooted everything they were doing in the sustainable development goals. And now I think they're focusing in over time on food, but they're not just investing in alternative proteins and things like that. They're also really trying to help the existing food system to improve. So they have I don't remember what it is. They have some system that helps cows emit less methane. So It just means they can reduce methane by 30% in current agricultural systems. I know, but that is a big difference. And so they're trying to hit it at both ends, the existing system, which has to change, and then of course coming up with some better alternatives as well. And they've done things like tie executive bonuses to their carbon emissions and things like that. So I think there are some big businesses that are leading, and we need a few more to join them.
Yeah. I mean, this is awesome because you talk to campaigning and how kind of you can empower people within the corporate sector to be campaigning more passionately and with more authority in politics and actually informing change. And the other thing that I think we all forget sometimes is that what we're dealing with is a load of human beings. And I remember when I interviewed sort of head of corporate responsibility at Unilever and BP and Shell and amongst loads of banks and law firms, and I was doing my dissertations. And I just remember even at that age of like 21, 22, sitting in boardrooms with these people thinking, these are just people. Like, this person's someone's child. This person's got kids, and this person sits on the loo, and all the rest of it. And also so are politicians, and we read the news and we just think, what a load of idiots. But these are just children who've just kind of grown up and found themselves in situations. And there's quite a lot of chat in the community that Simon and I are part of, Happy Startup School, that Carlos runs, about kind of the power of community. And we are just a community of people. Nobody can control what we do, but we make these we find each other and we buddy up and we make small things happen, but it's the incremental power of small things. And your facilitation of that buddying up is something I imagine you feel terribly proud about every day, because it's such brilliant work.
Yeah. No, I think that is one of the things I feel most satisfied with in my work is when you connect people up, just seeing what happens. Connect two people and they end up forming a new business relationship, or they end up just as friends and getting together outside of the community activities and or taking on cause projects together. It's just, it is incredibly rewarding.
Nice. Now let's just get around to another thing which I'm desperate to ask you about, which is, what is it like in terms of your own harmonious buddying up with your partner and working with them and living with them and being with them, and is that fun?
It is mostly, yes. It is unique. Whenever anyone meets us and finds out that we live and work together, they're always, really? I don't know if that could work for me. But I think it does work for us. I feel I've learned so much from working with Paul, and we do work. We have very complementary skills. I think he is more of the thought leader and strategist, and I'm more of the details person and the community manager. And I'm happy to learn new systems and do the taxes and do everything in between. And I'm happy for Paul to interview Seth Godin. I mean, Seth was incredible to meet in the practice room, but I would not have wanted the pressure of interviewing him in the live session.
And just yet again, do you watch that? I mean, Paul's introductory thanks in advance is one of the slickest bits of prose I've ever heard. Can you hear prose, Mark? It was beautiful. Just a massive gift in itself. I mean, it's a gift giving between him and Seth. Yeah. Between the two of them, that's like tear jerking in terms of the quality of their chat.
When someone like Seth says yes to an interview,
I mean, the pressure,
a real responsibility. you know.
I was wondering how long did Paul spend writing that, or thinking that he must have been.
I can't even say.
Yeah,
but he read most of his books. He reads the daily blog. He listens to the podcast. He has so much content out there. it was
Amazing.
quite an investment.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, your collaboration together sounds a bit like, makes me think of Simon and I and how we so nicely dovetail. We didn't realise at the beginning that our skills complemented each other, or we didn't drill down on what, how we were different and how that was going to be super helpful in running a community. But it turns out it's been bloody lucky, hasn't it?
I think it's one of those things you like intentionally plan it, but I think one of the things that obviously drew us together in terms of deciding to go from that thing of talking about starting a business to actually starting a business is that thing where you think, I reckon you're going to be able to look at the things that I can't do and vice versa, and that is really important, I think, when you're looking to collaborate, and it must be something that the people on your platform are looking for as well. It's like, obviously they're putting out and saying, hey, I've got this gap, I need some help. And I think even when you're collaborating, that is the point at which the magic starts to happen, when you get to a point in your business, your life, in solving a huge problem like climate change, is starting with that place of saying, hey, I need some help here, and then other people being like, that's exactly what I can help with. And I think if we can encourage and inspire more people to have that sort of conversation, then change will happen a lot faster.
Definitely. Yeah, the problems we're all looking at, no one business can solve, no one person, no one country even. So we have to keep putting out the questions and try and find the collective answers somewhere.
I love where this has ended up, because I think we've been talking about wants and needs, and it sounds like on both sides, marketers feel like they want to give, and that's what they want, and the charities know that what they want is some help, but actually what they both need is to be working together, and just the joy of collaboration in itself is wonderful, isn't it? So that's what you're selling, is collaboration, the quality of collaboration is a thing.
Well, Paul's, so nice. Paul's first book is Collaborative Advantage, How Collaboration Beats Competition as a Strategy for Success. So
please, can you just post that in the chat, a link to?
I'll grab a link for it.
And his second book will be out in September. It's the Purpose Upgrade. Change your business to save the world, and change the world to save your business.
Wow. Okay, cool. Yeah. That's cool. Love that.
We'll invite you all to the book launch.
Oh yes, thanks. We like a launch. We like a party.
Exactly. Yeah.
There any more questions? Carlos has asked, sounds like a lot of work. What's kept you going?
I think it is personally what motivates me is helping people and feeling like I am contributing, that I am making a difference to people. And that can be in many ways. And so I do find it really satisfying, as you were saying, to connect people up, to help them fill those gaps and find the people, the causes, the marketers that they need to work with. And I think that I would struggle if I was in a large corporate environment. I know myself, I would start clock watching, and that wouldn't be good. I do need to feel that I'm a part of everything and really a driving force in what I'm doing. And we wouldn't mind having a few more people working with us on MarketingKind and Pimp My Cause, but for me, it's been incredibly rewarding to be a part of this from the start, and to feel like I'm in some way making an impact on the world through my work.
You heard it here first. If you'd like to offer pro bono work to MarketingKind as someone that can relieve Anna of doing all of the things and feel amazing about yourself in the process and work with some incredible people, maybe that's a way forward, Anna. Get a load of people helping you.
Yeah, I mean, we've very much relied on our members to do our marketing, definitely help with recruitment, and take on leadership roles. Many of our exchanges are hosted by them or pulled together entirely. Our May exchange, by the way, our exchanges are open to guests, so anyone's welcome to come. And the past ones are all available on our YouTube channel. The next one will be May 17th, and Claire Kennedy, who runs 2030 Consulting, is hosting, and the question is, how can businesses unleash the true power of diversity? And Simon Fanshawe, OBE, he's the co-founder of Stonewall, and he's an author and diversity consultant as well, and he'll be in the panel for that. And I think it will be a really interesting one if anyone wants to come along. And we'll also, we try and theme things together, so we'll be working with a diversity-related cause at the same time. So
nice. Thank you. Well, it's been an absolute joy having you on. Simon, I wonder if you've got any final thoughts, and if you would do your usual fabulous job of wrapping us up for the day.
Yeah, it sounds like a fascinating sort of ongoing cause and venture. It's just a really inspiring thing to see people coming together and working together on these great causes. So I think it's definitely something that can sort of lead by example for other industries and other sectors, and hopefully, inspire people to work together more. Yeah, it's been really fascinating to learn all about it. And I think also just consider from a sort of deeper level where skills can be used to collaborate in and work with other causes that you care about. So I think that's really, really inspiring. I have posted a link to MarketingKind in. I've also got your LinkedIn ready to go. And Pimp My Cause, I'm going to put that in as well. So that's all in the chat.
Yeah, I'm always happy to hear from people, answer any questions you have. If people have ideas for us on what we should be doing through MarketingKind and Pimp My Cause, we're always very open.
Thank you. And just to make it really clear to anyone listening here, if you're a coach, if you've transitioned out of the corporate space and you have a good friend in the marketing department where you used to work, please do flag MarketingKind. It's an amazing organisation that marketing departments across the country and across the world should be members of, so that they can find amazing causes to support and also support their staff in continued professional development and possibly at high level campaigning to change the world. So definitely do share it, post about it, and yeah, really a delight to meet you. Thank you again to Carlos for the introduction.
Thank you guys both for having me. It's wonderful to meet you and to learn a little bit more about your community and have this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Anna. Thanks very much, everybody, for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.
Bye.